Hi, so welcome back to the next part of this course. We're going to be talking about how you play some of the most simple chords you'll find on the guitar, some things that you can play with them, and just to help you improve and get you started off on the right foot. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's get into some of these easier open chords for you just to get you started on the guitar. So we're going to tackle E minor first, and this one involves using just 2 fingers. We will be strumming all of the strings, so keep that in mind. Not all of these, there's only 3 chords we're doing here, but not all of them use all of the strings. This one does. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our middle finger and put that on the 2nd fret, so find the 2nd fret here, and then we're going to put that on the A string, so that's the 2nd string from the top, and you want it in the middle of the fret, which is a little unusual, but we need to make space for the other finger, which is going right underneath, so we have to move back a bit to the left here. So the 3rd finger is the other finger, and it goes directly underneath on the D string, and that goes on the 2nd fret too. And so you need to make sure you use the absolute tips of your fingers just to make sure that all the strings underneath ring out clearly. Also, quite often people's flesh of their hand under here catches this high E string when it's pulled back like this, and it mutes this string. So you've got to make sure you push the notes out far, your hand out far enough, sorry, just so that there's clearance there for all the strings to make a noise. And you can check each one, make sure they're okay, and of course check the ones you're pressing down as well, make sure they're pressed hard enough, and the top one. And this is your E minor chord. Nice sounding chord, mysterious sounding, plenty of cool things. You can use this to practice your strumming. Obviously we will incorporate up strums in future videos and things, but for now just get used to it if it's all new to you. Make sure you don't hold your plectrum too tight. You need to bounce off the strings. You can practice playing strings individually just for some accuracy, and make sure, as I always say, that you anchor this picking hand to the guitar somehow, preferably just by putting 1 or 2 of your fingers down under the strings here just to get you going. So that's your E minor, okay, and then it's quite easy to link this chord to 2 others which come up all the time, and they're very important and easy-ish to play at the beginning, so we're going to go on to these now. So to change the E minor chord, if you need a break for a second, by all means take your fingers away, but to change the E minor chord into the E major chord, you keep these 2 fingers where they were previously, and all we've got to do is take the 1st finger and put that on the G string, so 3rd string from the bottom of the guitar, on that 1st fret there, again using the very tip of your finger, and we're again playing all 6 strings. And this has got a much happier sound to it. You can check these thinner strings. This is most likely where the problem will be, if there is a problem, from this finger not being too flat like this and not being at a right angle enough. So just check that. Strum all the strings again, and you can just practice this. Now the E major and the E minor don't sound too good together because they're quite an extreme combination, quite a big difference between the 2, so you wouldn't usually use them together, but you can for practice purposes just to get the sound correct for both. Alright, and if we take the E major chord we've just played, that's the one with the additional finger down. If we move each of these fingers down 1 string towards the floor, we then have a new chord called A minor. So just go ahead and do that 1st finger first, because this one will lead in a lot of these open chords, just because it's the one that dictates your position for the rest of the fingers in the chord really. And then you need to move the other 2 fingers down towards the floor of string. Whenever moving these 2 fingers, or any pair of fingers on the guitar, you need to keep them pressed together. It's best to keep them in a unit and not let them flail out like this, because you lose your shape and it costs you a lot of time. And changing between chords is by far the most difficult part of playing guitar at the beginning. It's not actually making the chords sound good, it's getting from one to the other that generally trips people up. So just keep that in mind. So A minor, yes, is all a string down from E major, and this time we only strum the bottom 5 strings. We don't strum this low E string here. Alright, and this one's pretty tricky as well. Make sure you use the absolute tips of your fingers. You need to make sure you've got nice short nails if they're digging in or preventing you from doing that for any of these chords. And then, yeah, you can practice 1 string at a time. And then my advice is, once you've got these 3 chords sounding okay, is to practice. You don't have to use all 3 in combination, but just use 2, E to A minor or E major to A minor, and just try and get them changed from one to another try to get that faster over time. So that's what I would do. So I would just not rush too much, but just work on that. So this is E major, and then I would try to change to A minor and just see if I can get this going. There's going to be a bit of noise from other strings, and it's not going to be perfect at first. Something we will do in future is when we finish with a chord, when we're playing something slow like this, as we go to change to the other chord, I would put this hand over here down on the strings to mute the noise when I take my hand away, because it does make a noise when you do that, and then strum. But that's not something you need to worry too much about. I'm just making sure you're aware of everything I'm doing here, and this is the main stuff to be working on. I would just take my time with it, make sure everything sounds good. And you can, from time to time, you can try and speed up and see if you can do it clearly. See if you've reached a bit of a better level with your chord changes, and if so, keep it at that pace and try to progress. Some great songs to play, I will list them on this video. They'll probably be on the screen now, and then you can try some of those out if you want to go on onto something that's a bit more involved. But that's a great way to get started, and I'm sure we'll cover other chords in this guitar course as well. So hopefully that helps, and see you in the next part.